Since the dawn of time, man has been curious. And for almost as long, the Vibes Broadcast Network has sought the truth. Investigate, discuss, explore. Okay, maybe in other episodes, but this one is just listen to the vibes.
The views and opinions of our guests may not necessarily reflect those of the host or the Vibes Broadcast Network. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes, and I'm very privileged to have the one and only Jesse Kove here. He is on a little show called Cobra Kai, has a podcast of his own, and we're going to get to know him, and we're going to talk about his podcast a little bit. So, Jesse, tell us about you.
Well, grew up in LA in an entertainment family, and kind of got into acting professionally when I was about 18. I kind of, wasn't sure if I wanted to do it. I was always in film and television classes. I was always making my own little movies with like my G.I. Joes when I was a kid, which was great. And I was always like on movie sets growing up, with my dad, which is great. And so I was very grateful for that. He never pushed me to be in the industry at all.
Right.
In fact, he didn't really want me in the industry because it is, it's a very tough industry. But, now here we are, he and I do business together, and we are able to, work on film and television together. And obviously Cobra Kai came up, which was just such an incredible opportunity that I never knew would ever happen. So it's just been great. I have no regrets. In Cobra Kai, I play the bully that bullies him. It was a surreal experience. It's just, he was watching at the time, and it was very cool. I auditioned for this role. I really wanted it. It came up. It was a total surprise. I never thought I'd be part of that universe. And it was, it's like one of those kind of like, I don't know, it felt like destiny in a way. It was like in the scene, it was almost like a Back to the Future moment,
Right. Is there like a restraint almost when you're part of a franchise like Karate Kid, or is this kind of expanded your career?
It's definitely helped. I mean, it's such a huge show. It's like the number one show in the world, and people love it. I think I'm a fan of it myself, and I'm just so glad that people are receiving it the way they are. It's really for everybody, and obviously fans of the original movies, and to be a part of that is just it's a blessing, and I'm grateful. And it's definitely opened up the door for other things, with my dad, and obviously even my sister. We have our podcast, that just released last Thursday called Kicking It with the Coves, which is, we'll talk about that later, but it's definitely been a wonderful door opener.
Yeah, I enjoy it because, let's be honest with you, a lot of the stuff on TV, and as I said, I don't like to talk about politics, but it does get a little bit too political, and that's supposed to be my escape from the world when I watch a movie or a TV show. And it was such a relief when Cobra Kai came out, and it really surprised me about how well that y'all made that show, and how it's come along, and it keeps us just glued to the TV. As soon as it comes out, we binge it until it's over.
It's so good. And it's not an hour-long show. It's only like each episode's like 27 minutes or whatever, and I think it's like a perfect amount. I mean, you can binge the whole season in 5 hours, and I agree. I'm the same way. I've binged them myself, and they're just great to watch. It's such a wonderful show to get around with the family and friends, and have a lot of nostalgic memories. And it's a wonderful, wonderful show.
So what do you got going on in the future after Cobra Kai?
Well, the reason I have this big beard right now and this mustache is I'm going to go play young Wyatt Earp in a new movie called Dodge. It's when Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp met, and it's all based on historical facts. And when Wyatt Earp was the deputy marshal in Dodge City, and before he went to Tombstone. It's basically like an unofficial prequel to Tombstone with Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer.
Oh man, I can't wait for that because I love.
I know you're gonna love this. I know you will love it.
It's just something about westerns. I started out like watching nothing but Clint Eastwood movies when I was a kid, and I think Hang 'em High was my first one, and I was addicted from there. And
Fistful of Dollars, Few Dollars
yeah,
More, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly are some of my favorites too.
man, and then you get into let's see, the Young Guns and Tombstone, Wyatt Earp, all those, man. I'm glued, definitely.
I can't wait. It's it's very exciting. A good buddy of mine is also going to be in it. Weston Cage Coppola. He's a dear friend. He and I did a movie together called D-Day, which you can look up, which was great. And again, it's always fun to work with your friends. And he's a terrific actor. So I'm excited to be on screen with him again.
Well, I do want to get into your podcast. So, number one, how did y'all come up with it, and when did you decide to do it? And tell us about it.
Well, the idea came about a year ago. It actually came through my sister, Rachel Kove. She wanted to do a podcast, and our manager, thought it was a great idea as well. And we were trying to figure out how we could bring it all together. And some people think it's a Cobra Kai recap show, but it's not. Obviously we do talk about that on the podcast, but it's really, it's a family show, and it's such a great dynamic between the three of us. You've got me and my sister and our dad, so you've got this great triangle of father, daughter, son, brother, sister, and then she brings in a wonderful female aspect to it, and she also works in the mental health field. So we talk about, there's really no subject that we don't want to tackle. We're planning on having a lot of doctors and psychologists, as well as entertainers and actors and musicians, and also people from the show that are going to be on there. And, we basically want to just talk about pop culture and, mental health, and bullying is a theme that we talk about. We want to get into producing and past actors and filmmakers that we've worked with before. I mean, it's in current events, it's really for everyone. And then for us to do it as a family, I think especially now in the climate that's going on in the world, I think it's really important to have that right now, to see a family kind of sitting around together and talking about everything together,
Yeah. I mean, you see this culture that's going on now, that it's almost like they're trying to break down the family unit. And it's almost like a bad word to say you got a mom and a dad and child, this nuclear family. And I'm like you, man, bring it together and show people, this is life, this is the way things should be.
It's definitely a strange time. I mean, I'm definitely guilty of it. People I feel at the moment are can be very divided, especially with all the the technology that we're on. It's been great during the pandemic, obviously, people being able to connect with each other that way. But I feel like sometimes maybe we depend upon that too much. And then that's the new standard, is being disconnected and using technology to connect us in a way. And it obviously does have a wonderful crutch in certain ways. But I feel like, people are interacting with each other face to face less and less. And obviously the pandemic is not helping with that, and which has been a terrible tragedy, around the world. But I think we're slowly getting back, and it's a great time for us to have this podcast and to also just inspire a lot of people and bring people together.
Are you like me when you go to the grocery store and they have the self-checkout, but then you have the checkers? I'd rather spend the extra few minutes in line just so I can interact with the cashier. I don't like, the doing it myself, and it's just cold to me, You
want interaction. You don't like the robots. If I have like 2 items, I'll go to the self-checkout, but myself. Otherwise I'll definitely say hello to the cashier all the time. I always ask how they're doing and chatting with them. And I also love human interaction as well.
Yeah. So you've touched on a subject that's near and dear to me. Not only have I been affected, but a lot of people around me, it is mental health. How do you approach that?
Well, I guess it all starts with certain conversations that we have. There's someone we want to bring on the show, Dr. Mark Goulston, who helps he's worked with the FBI for suicide prevention. He's helped people talk them down from committing suicide right in front of him. He's also written a book, I think it's called Just Listen, which is great. And, he's a perfect example of us helping get the word out about what he talks about. And, I think it's important to have those kind of conversations. And even on our show, like sometimes, we talk about Cobra Kai and we talk about entertainment and fun stuff and we laugh. And then we have like we'll have these deep conversations about life and mental health and, what's going on in the world. And I think it's important to have those conversations. I feel like people are afraid to have those conversations. And, look at Joe Rogan. I know he's under a little bit of scrutiny right now because of some of the stuff that he's said recently. But before that, he has real talks with people about life. And I think in the end, people just want to hear the truth about things. And, it sometimes seems like everything has to be okay and everything has to be fine and everything is perfect. Well, that's not life. Life is not perfect. Like,
exactly.
People die, people get upset, people get angry. Like, and I think to not address that's a part of life is like, you're not in reality. And so I think it's important that people are able to express that. And we want to do that in a very safe way, with our podcast. One of the aspects of it is to talk about that stuff. And it's also a theme that's in Cobra Kai is bullying, it's a huge part of it. And it even goes back all the way to Karate Kid.
Yeah. Well, with Joe Rogan, I think they have a big misconception about Joe Rogan because he's having people on to have real conversations about like the pandemic and all that stuff. Because people genuinely, I think, want to talk about those things. You should get a different perspective. And when you got people who are professionals that are actually part of that, then how could you not listen to them? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I'm very pro conversation. I think that's why we have freedom of speech, is to be able to just have conversations about anything and allow people to form their own opinion about whatever that is, or even just to listen, to hear what the facts are about this and what the facts are about that. And then you can make your own informed decision based on that. And you have every right to do that. I think it's important to have those platforms to be able to hear those things. And, now more than ever, we have so many different platforms for people to be heard and speak. And, I think that's one of the things that, that's important. And, so, yeah, there's the tough conversations.
Exactly. I mean, there's such a push for censorship like I've never seen in my life. I thought the biggest thing was when I was a teenager and the whole Chipper Gore thing where they were trying to put the labels on record albums, and, when I was a child, it was Richard Pryor and George Carlin, people like that. They were trying to get rid of censorship. And now it's like people are wanting it. I'm like, why? I want to have a conversation with people. It doesn't matter if you agree with me or not. I think we should be able to sit down and talk. What's wrong with that? I believe they tried to even cancel Cobra Kai at one time. They didn't like whatever message was going on. I remember it was like a couple of years ago or something. I don't even remember what it was about though. But for what? I don't see anything but good messages in that show.
Yeah, I think I don't remember the cancel thing, but I just don't remember. But I think one of the things that people love about that show as well is that it's like kind of non-PC conforming in a way. Like, there's a lot of funny moments that happen in the show, and I think people like that. Billy Zabka's character Johnny, he's drinks beer all the time and says things that are just, he's kind of like learning how to find his place in the world, and he says things that are like sometimes offensive and sometimes not, but he doesn't even know what the hell he's saying at the same time. So it's kind of a really great way to bridge the gap between those things, and I think, I just think people, I think there's a balance within that. I think, even comedians today, there's a lot of scrutiny that comedians are coming under because they say certain things that might be offensive to certain people. And obviously there are people that cross the line, but like you said, Richard Pryor and a lot of other comedians that came up, they would say things that were somewhat offensive to people. But like, I think that part of that is life, and we have to like sometimes laugh at ourselves in a way, because that's how we're able to get through these tough times, you know. And it's been an interesting dilemma with some of this stuff, because yes, some people do cross the line, and I obviously think certain people need to be reprimanded for saying things that are truly hurtful or racist or, you know, homophobic or transphobic, anything like that. But I also think there should be a place for people to have open conversations and know what you're signing up for. If you listen to this comedian, you know you're going to get some of this. You know, either don't listen, you know what I mean? Then there's obviously a market for everything in certain ways. And I think that, again, it ties back into the reality of life, that life is really hard. And I think that's one way that people can relieve themselves of the hardships of life, is being able to like make fun of ourselves.
Yeah, well, when it comes to these comedians, and I know people get offended real easy by some of the things they say, but to me, it's I'm trying to put you on an equal plane here. I would make fun of, you know, my own people. I would make fun of this group. I'd make fun of this group, all equally. And it's just meant to be funny, it's not supposed to be something mean and hateful and you know, they think they're trying to bring violence to folks. But I mean, come on. If you listen to George Carlin or Richard Pryor or Eddie Murphy back in the day, they made fun of everybody. It wasn't just one group. So you want equality, it's equal opportunity offensive towards everyone, you know?
Yeah, you know, it's an ever-changing evolution of dialogue, you know, and I think it goes back and forth and back and forth. And yeah, it's just, you know, it's obviously I fight for everyone, and I want everyone to win.
Yep.
And I think, you know, it's definitely, I'm just very pro conversation.
Yeah, exactly. And what I like about Cobra Kai as well, it's like I said, it's not really politically correct, but there is a diversity in it, but it's natural. It's not forced. And I love the way all those kids have, you know, come together. I think we need more of that. That's a better message.
Yeah, it's definitely being able to come together is an important thing. And I think, like you said, that does bring people together. And, you know, it is important to have conversations. You know, I remember, forget what it was. I had this conversation with one of these psychologists, and they were talking about, you know, just how parents communicate with their children, you know, rather than when a kid comes in from school, you know, instead of just saying like, how was your day? You know, they'll just answer back, oh, good. You know, like what, you know, say something that really stimulates the conversation, or like, oh, you know, hey, David, I'm so glad to see you. You know, like, oh, hi, Mom, I'm glad to see you too. And then go, you know, and other things, you know, I think communication is so important. And with everything going on today, I think it's one of the most important things that people can learn about is communication, and how to communicate properly, and what tools you can use to really get through to people, you know, and children, especially in today's climate. I can't even imagine, you know, if I was in high school or middle school dealing with everything going on now, it would be a huge struggle for me.
Yeah. And I know people don't like to talk about it, but things like suicide is gone up since all this pandemic. You've already got kids that are feeling lonely as it is, feeling isolated, and now you're making it even more isolated for them. I'm like you. I couldn't fathom being a kid now. I'm glad that I graduated in the 80s.
You still wearing your KISS shirt, probably.
I have my KISS shirt. Yeah, you better believe it. I actually got to meet them in 2010. And all because I got rear-ended in my truck.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Gene's great. Gene is great. Great guy.
Yeah. So you got Cobra Kai, you've got the Wyatt Earp coming up. You know, do you have plans like for yourself, that projects you want to do aside from that?
Well, Wyatt Earp is definitely the Wyatt Earp role is definitely a big one that I would just off the bucket list. I mean, that was something that I just absolutely love. I mean, and I do have another film that'll come out later this year called The Taste of Love that stars Erin Cahill. She's, wonderful actress. She's been on so many Hallmark movies and many others. I think Hallmark was her big claim to fame, and it was just wonderful to work with her. Lincoln Logison is the producer on that. Great guy. He's also a friend. Michael May, who's a friend, who's the DP on that. It's just a wonderful story. My dad actually has a great role in it. He plays Erin's father in the movie, and it's about her. She becomes a famous chef, and then she comes back to her small town home to visit her family, and she and I are old flames, and we kind of rekindle that relationship, and it all takes place around food and family, and it's just a lovely story. And there's some drama that happens, and so again, that's called The Taste of Love. Just a lovely, lovely film. I can't wait for people to see that. There's so many things, always, all the time. There's another Civil War project that's coming up that I'm in talks with right now. Again, that's something that I'm looking to team up with my dear friend Weston on as well. We both would play bad guys in that, which I'm looking forward to. I enjoy playing villains. It's really fun and freeing for me.
I hear that a lot from actors. That's you get to be more. It's not so constrained when you're a villain. You could expand. That's gotta. I would love to do something like that, honestly.
Yeah, there is a lot of freedom to it, because you always want to make it unique in its own way and yours, and you put your spin on it, and it's like a blank. Being a villain is like kind of having a blank canvas. I'm like, well, what makes this guy tick, and why does he do this? And it's definitely a little bit more freeing, because obviously when you're the hero, which I've played before as well, you got to kind of stay in these lanes, which are also great and a lot of fun at the same time. And then I think that's why people kind of like the anti-hero a little bit, because they kind of jump in both worlds a little bit,
like Venom.
Yeah, exactly. People enjoy it, or Deadpool, it's
right.
Kind of fun to see them jump back and forth, rather than being the perfect hero, and which is great at the same time as well. That's always a beacon of justice and the right, and what's, and I think that's also a great goal to attain as well.
So when my producer Kevin told me that he got a hold of you to be on the show, one of the first things I thought of is, you were talking about villains and your dad being the villain in Karate Kid and in Cobra Kai, although it looks like that's kind of changing a little bit. But when people find out that Martin's your dad, do they have a hard time distinguishing between, he is a separate person from what the character is that he portrays?
It's always a question people ask. I mean, he like we were saying, like, he definitely has that character down, and he's painted that canvas. He knows it really well, and I think it's nice for him to have a little bit of the changes going on that you've seen in, like, towards the end of season 4. I think it's also, it's like one of those instances in a movie where you see, like, the bad guy and the hero work together to accomplish the same goal. It's like, oh yes, it's always very exciting. I think we're maybe seeing a little bit of that. We're not sure yet, but you're definitely seeing the pot is definitely stirring, and I think it's, as an actor, it's great for him to be able to change that up.
See, I see redemption for him coming up in next season.
So that would be cool. Or not. I don't know. He might just, bring the world down. Who knows?
Well, you look at Johnny, from the end of Karate Kid, you could see him kind of changing. And now, even though he's still, drinking and very un-PC, seems like he's kind of changed. His heart's softened up. So I would love to see that for Martin coming up. That would be awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the writers, John Hurwitz, Hayden Schlossberg, and Josh Heald are just incredible guys. They're like nerds themselves. That's why they're so good at writing the show, because they know what the fans want. They know what people want to see. because they would want to see it themselves. And they're just so brilliant in what they bring to the table. And, I just totally trust them in what's going on. There's been ideas that my dad has brought to them and they're like, already thought about it, Marty.
I want to go back to the podcast for a minute. I thought about this while we were talking. Do you have aspirations for maybe the show getting on television or some streaming service or something?
The podcast?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that would be amazing. I mean, the more people we reach, the better. I mean, of course, we want to be able to touch as many people as you can, with the conversations we're having. And also, I'm so excited to talk to as many people as possible, interesting people. I mean, that's the cool thing about our show. It's like, it's not catered to one thing. It's really everything. It's our family talking about all these different subjects. And, whenever we do interviews, it's like we get to go to like a mini academy and learn something different about whatever that subject is or that person, whether it's spirituality or, psychology or entertainment or music. It's always fascinating. I think it's great to have these conversations, and I would just love to be. I mean, Podcast One is our, they're the ones backing us, and they're just great. So great to work with them. They've been so supportive, and we'll see what happens. We'll see where it goes.
See, you sound a lot like what I'm trying to do with my show. And I bring actors and musicians and people like that on, not so much for the pop culture itself. It's for the inspiration behind how they got where they're at, because there's so much negativity going on in the world. It's almost like they're trying to separate us, and people are feeling defeated. It's just been geared to really bring people down. And I think these podcasts, you bring people on and say, you know what, this person went through this. I could do that. If they can, I can. And you're being inspiring, which I really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. I mean, those stories inspire me too all the time. I mean, I love hearing those stories too. It's like, where was that point where the breaking point where they succeeded, and what did they do before that got them there? And then, you hear these success stories all the time, and then you hear, oh, I did the same thing, and I was doing that, and oh my God, maybe I'm right around the corner from that break. Or, it's always like, there's a picture of Jeff Bezos I love seeing, that's like, it's literally him in his like little office in like 1996 or whatever, with like a damn sheet that says Amazon with like a spray can. And 20 years later, he becomes the richest man in the world, with what he's done. And it's like those kind of pictures and stories that like really inspire you to believe, that anything's possible, because anything is possible.
Yeah, we need, if we have a platform, we need to try to help people as much as we can. I hate seeing people down. I hate seeing people mad at each other. I'm fortunate that the town that I live in, it's a small town. You can go into the local Walmart or grocery store, what have you. And especially having my grandson with us, he loves to say hi to everybody. And if you don't answer him, he'll just keep on, hi. And he'll even go, hi.
Mommy, mom, mommy, mom. Right.
But when somebody sees there's a small child saying hello, 2 years old, it melts their heart, and you could see the joy on their face. And then you get into a conversation. You never know who you're going to meet out there. And people just want a voice, which is another reason why I love doing this. Don't have to be somebody famous to be on the show. If you have an inspiring story, that's what I want to bring to the table. People just want to be heard, and you can see it. TikTok videos, Instagram, all these different things. These kids they're doing outrageous stuff, but they're wanting some kind of attention. They're needing that communication out there. I mean, are you looking to bring maybe that ordinary person on that has an inspiring story?
Oh yeah, I have so many. I mean, there's like a wonderful, amazing mother. Her name's Melissa. She had a son who suffered from a skin disease called EB, and it's like where your skin doesn't produce collagen, so your skin is like paper thin, and like literally putting a t-shirt on would like literally cut your skin would tear off with the t-shirt. And my girlfriend Shelby found him. His name's Marky, and my girlfriend found him through social media. And then he was so inspiring. This beautiful boy. We reached out and we became friends with him and his mom, and we started chatting. And she's someone that I want to bring on the podcast because she's just such an amazing woman in her resilience, dealing with him and that whole lifestyle. He was only supposed to live till he was 14. He ended up living till he was, I think, 21. He passed about a month ago. Oh. And I went to the funeral in Kansas, and I spoke at his funeral. And, it's people like that. She used the power of social media to inspire other people through him as well. And it's just an amazing, I love people to hear her story and dealing with him, because he was amazing. And he was literally this little boy in like a little, he led this little body, but his soul was so big. I mean, you just cry looking at him, because like you can just see how angelic he is, and like his perseverance was incredible.
Oh man, yeah, those are very inspiring. Let me get a little more specific. Would you tackle something like autism? I have a grandson who's 5 and he's autistic, and that's something I've been curious about as well. I want to be able to handle, taking care of him, things like that when I need to.
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff I think is amazing to talk about, and we live in a society where we like love seeing everything that's so perfect all the time. And I think it's important to like see the other end of that and see some of these other things. Like there's this one, I forget this one social media account I follow on Instagram. And this one guy literally interviews everybody on the show is either, I'm trying to say the right wordage here. They're either like mentally disabled, or they have very, very severe physical disabilities, facial, issues or whatever, birth defects, things like that. And they interview them, and these kids are literally like have the funniest and most amazing personalities, and they're so witty and smart, and they're freaking with it. Like you look like, because people can be judgmental, and I have been past, of course, but like you'd see them and you think like, oh, he's just a lost cause. But he's actually like this kid or this girl, like they're freaking hilarious, and like they know about everything that's going on in the world, and then they have their own take on it, and they're just so inspiring. So those kind of conversations, that stuff impresses me. I don't care, I do care about certain people's successes, of course, but like I love hearing those stories as well. That stuff is amazing. That touches your soul.
Yeah, it really does. I'd love to send you his TikTok account so you could see the stuff he does. Yeah. He's 5 years old. And when you see some of it, mind you, he's doing all the editing, everything himself. Because I talked to my daughter the other day, and I'm like, oh, these are funny. Who helps him? He does it all. And when you see the creativity that he has, you're going to be like, really? This kid's 5?
I love it. I just love it.
So outside of the acting and podcasting and all that, what do you like to do?
I mean, I love spending time with my girlfriend. I love my dogs. I've got 2 pit bulls, a cat, and this is Ginger. She's super sweet. Were you napping? Sorry, I didn't mean to bring you up. She's super sweet, little Gingy. And love spending time with them, with friends. Love going to the movies. I love traveling, camping. I go on a horseback riding trip every year in Wyoming, where Butch Cassidy, Sundance Kid, used to ride. I'm part of a horseback riding group called the Hole in the Wall Gang, which is great. My dad and I do that. I do a lot of tactical training with Taryn Butler, who trained Keanu Reeves for John Wick, and Halle Berry, and John Bernthal for The Punisher. I mean, everybody. So I'm out there all the time, always trying to, tweak that muscle. I actually go and shoot with my girlfriend's brother, Zach Smith. He's a champion shooter around the world. So I'm under his wing, trying to get as good as him. But just stuff like that, man. And then reading, of course, and studying, and then I'm on set and just trying to, elevate.
Man, you get out to Austin and give me a holler. I'll take you to the range. I love going out there.
I love it. They're actually thinking of shooting this movie north of Austin. So we'll see we'll see what happens.
Wouldn't happen to be around Round Rock or anything, would it?
I don't remember. I know there's some town that's built, a western town. I forget where it is.
I know what you're talking about then. Yeah. That's pretty neat place, and it's haunted.
Oh, I love that stuff. Love it. Yeah.
I really, really appreciate you coming on and spending time with me. I'm looking forward to your success, honestly.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been real. This was some good stuff we tackled.
Well, you're always welcome to come back, and if there's anything you need to promote, man, shoot it my way. I'd love to.
Sure, you get my sister on there. She's great to talk to. She'll dive more into the mental health stuff. She's way more equipped than I am with that.
Well, that's definitely something that I tackle. So yes, I would love to get with her.
Send me a personal message on like my Instagram, and I'll get to you.
Okay.
And if anybody wants to, check me out or follow me, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, it's all Jesse Kove, JESSE KOVE. And our podcast, Kicking It with the Coves, is on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. Give us a follow. We appreciate it. And we can't wait for you guys to listen.
You beat me to it. That was my next question.
Well, I got a podcast, man. I know what to say, right? I got to do it too.
Well, thank you again for your time. Everyone out there, if you're listening or you're watching, I appreciate you stopping by. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And till the next one, please, everyone, take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network